It only takes one transition timeline on YouTube or Reddit, and we might enter into a pessimism about our own bodies. Maybe we're not as tall as other cis men, or we're too tall to feel passing among cis women, or we're outside the binary and our needs for transitioning feel inconvenient or unavailable. Though not all trans people will transition, for those of us that do, we start to stare with forensic eyes at the changes of others. We're convinced they must have access to some shortcut that we're being denied. We might end up replacing envy with judgment or bitterness or unconvincing indifference. It's easier to applaud trans anniversaries when we're with others. Of course we're happy then. At a pride parade or in a support group, the physical warmth of being together can redirect any hopelessness we have. But oddly, it's harder to celebrate the transitions of others in private, in bed, late at night, when we see those timelines. We're more likely to focus on what we don't have, even if we're glad for them. It all begins to feel like persecution. We create narratives in our head as to why we're so mistreated among our own people. The rationalizing around our deprivation can become all-consuming. What we really want to ask while scrolling the Instagram uploads of beautiful trans porn stars or genderqueer activists, do they ever feel impatient with their body? Has their experience with pronouns brought the same pain it brought me? Is their transition really just... In a braver setting, we might wonder, why does my mind ask such questions? Or better yet, when? When do these questions and feelings emerge? The answer lies partly in the realm of social media. Without this being done intentionally, certain trans people might have become, unknowingly, an imprisoning expectation to us. Their popularity or surgeries have become hidden ambitions to us, regardless of how different our childhoods or bone structures are in comparison. It's hard to admit how much comparing we're constantly doing, even when our hearts are in the right place. After all, we are happy for them, but we also just feel deprived. Social media is heavily edited, whether you're LGBTQIA or not. The lives of people online can unfairly materialize as quintessential and achievable to any. We end up worrying we're missing out on some secret knowledge of style, or pharmaceutical dosage, or looking stealth, or being the one that even the transphobes admire. We're so familiar with our desires for progress, and yet others appear so naturally euphoric. Suddenly an isolation hits us, and our transition feels like it's the only one that's a failure, the only one that's taking forever. We imagine we're the only person still getting misgendered, or that can't afford certain treatments, or we're the only ones scared in the waiting room of our HRT clinic. The Buddha's second noble truth teaches us that the causes of our suffering are in desire and ignorance. Too often we forget the ambivalent truths of life, of love, of work, of online profiles, and, no less, of transitioning. In the end, we're not singled out. It's all a mixed experience. Yes, there will be times when no clothes fit, everything feels scratchy, when we assume baristas are laughing at the sound of our voice, when doubt arises, when resentment arises, when prejudice from others is persuasive to our shame. But there will also be times of a genuine joy, when we see a budding of gender characteristics that feel right, when there's an urge to frolic every time a stranger uses the correct pronoun, when self-love arises, when gratitude arises, when we see that plenty of people really do like us. It's the task of transitioning that's sometimes troubling. We aren't. Our body's reaction to hormones, how our appearance is treated by strangers, the age when we finally came out, the status of trans rights in our current country, no part of us is to blame for any of these things. Allowing our authentic selves to be visible, like much in life, will bring glee and unease both. There are no promises in transitioning, and that's a good thing. We shouldn't want the universe to pre plan our journey. Transitioning is ours to plan, ours to cultivate, to learn from, to adore, to liberate. We don't need an approving nod from anyone when it comes to liking ourselves. We just need the courage to follow our own beauty. There are no universal role models we should hope to imitate. Envy can be reoriented as goals, since others might motivate us now and then, but we shouldn't vilify those we confidentially admire. Our gender journey can be unfinished and lovely. Trans Day of Visibility is for all trans people of all shapes and destinies.